Hello everybody, so today is actually going to be around the FOI request I sent off about the cycle lanes up and down the Wirral. Apologies for the headphones around my neck. Hopefully the mic is more clearer using this because the mic on the camera is somewhat diabolical. So the FOI request I sent was over things like Fender Lane, which cost about £200,000 to build, but no one asked for, no one wanted. There's also the cycle lane up near Charing Cross, which is causing major issues as well since it's been installed, and the same story keeps coming back and forth across the Wirral, but no one asked for these cycle lanes, no one uses said cycle lanes, and the cycle initiative has arguably completely failed and was set up due to net zero targets. Now, my FOI request was as following in regards to the cycle lanes. Dear Wirral Council, under the Environmental Information Regulations of 2004, I requested total cumulative expenditure incurred by the Council to date in the design, consultation, construction and maintenance of dedicated cycle lanes implemented primarily to meet net zero carbon reduction targets. Okay, and I should have worded a bit differently, and I might readdress that in a later, and I'll tell you why in a second. Please include 1. The total capital and revenue spent for the last 5 financial years. 2. A breakdown of the grant contributions, e.g. the active travel fund versus the direct council tax let me say that again, I was in brackets, versus direct council tax contributions. 3. Specifically regarding Fender Lane cycle route, please provide the total cost of the Mott MacDonald review or confirm if it remains withheld under the commercial sensitivity as the previous request, FOI request, so forth, right? So I got an answer. And the answer is as follows. This request is being handled under the Environmental Information Regulations of 2004. I am writing to inform you that we have searched for our records and some of the information you requested is not held by the Wirral Council. Therefore, Regulation 12 subsection 4A applies to your request. Regulation 12.4 section A provides an exception to the duty to disclosure information when the information is not held. Okay. The service has informed us we don't design, construct or maintain any dedicated cycle lanes primarily to meet net zero carbon reduction targets. Any dedicated cycle lanes are implemented to support a wide range of council objectives and ambitions. Well, I'm going to call you out on that. Regarding question 3, the service has informed that £72,143.09 Mott MacDonald Commission was placed in Phase 1 active travel scheme reviews including Fender Lane and Newchester Road. This includes the design, reviews and recommendations, travel surveys, scheme appraisals. The commission has now been completed and the final invoice amount was £71,488.14. Please quote such and such number for further communications. If you're dissatisfied, send in a message or whatever. Right, okay. So, yeah, no. So you might all remember this. I've turned up. Climate emergency on the Wirral since 2019 is their plan, and the plan is, to show us how much the planet is changing and how it's going to pot. So I'm just going to play this video just to show you how the Wirral tries to re-educate us about climate change. So it's not unnatural actually, it's been disproven. The poles are actually changing, just to call you out. And we do only make up 1% of the world's emissions. And we won't stop emerging economies from just pumping out pollution. And look, CO2 really isn't a big issue either, because that's what feeds plants, which people forget, which produce oxygen for us. So organise the Wirral Council, reducing carbon, maybe of Europe through the CO2 pipeline. It hurts me watching this, by the way. See, we're all environmentalists on the Wirral, but we all know that net zero is a massive scam, and we're destroying our livelihoods and setting ourselves back to almost this, maybe embellishing, if exaggerating there, but to the Stone Age, you know. How do we reduce car usage, guys? Maybe using cycle lanes? Maybe? We're going to build plants, but we're going to knock a whole bunch down with CO2 pipeline, destroy entire greenbelt. Yeah? Okay. And that was in plans before this, or around about this time actually, would say. That was 2020 actually. I don't know, I need to check how long the CO2 pipeline's been in plans, but it's been arguably about 5 years. And yeah, we spray the clouds to create cloud cover, so you don't get as much sun for the, you know, solar panels that you want to install up and down the country. Anyway, I just want to show you that. So I looked into what this is. Okay, so we're just going to highlight the fact as recent amendments, they've had to cut the funding to this entire project by 50% because they were taking taxpayers' funds to become net zero. It's costing us money to install all and implement all the things they want to reduce carbon on the Wirral, which is quite insane to be honest when you look into it. Now, when I went through the emergency strategy updates in 2021 and 2022, I did a quick search-a-roo until I got to clean travel transitions and fossil fuel-free local travel. So just remember, in the FOI request they stated that none of the cycle lanes got nothing to do, basically, with net zero. They're not even installed or maintained or created for the purposes of net zero. Okay, well, to support net zero goals, the objective for travel is to see a complete transition to fossil fuel free local travel by around 2030. This will require a rapid shift from car use to walking, cycling and public travel use. It will also require a major shift in vehicle fleet away from the initial combustion engine vehicles fueled by petrol and diesel to electric and hydrogen powered ones, which, yeah, okay. And then we look here, we've got total length of cycle routes of various types, 93.74 miles. And that's being installed. That's what one of their targets was doing. And now if we go here and we look into this, this is literally the review of 2024. Bike lanes, the Wirral to date, there are approximately 95 miles of cycle lanes, approximately 4 miles of segregated bicycle lanes on the highways, and approximately 23 miles of traffic-free cycle routes away from the highway. Installation of active travel fund, which is why I asked for the contributions towards it. Tranche 1 scheme, Harrison Drive, Baywater Road, active travel fund scheme 2 completed in January 2024, and then you've got Fender's Way and other ones have been planned to be built. So it has got everything to do with your environmental and climate change thing, and this, you know, this is what we're trying to do. You know, this is the thing about, I get really annoyed with net zero. It's like, think about this here. Okay, case study, carbon literacy training. So you're literally going out your way, you know, spending large swathes of money to convince people that CO2 reduction is the main thing, to accept the CO2 pipeline coming through the Wirral and tearing up the entire greenbelt. It's ridiculous. And again, that FOI request gave me absolutely nothing that I asked for. I didn't get to find out, you know, the expenditure to date. You know what I mean? And maybe I should have reworded it from not net zero and just say cycle lanes in general. So maybe I might resend it and cut the net zero part out. I never got the total capital revenue spent in the last financial 5 years. Apparently you don't have that information. The Wirral Council does not have that information. Listen to that. Hear what I'm saying. A breakdown of grant contributions, e.g. travel funds versus direct council tax contributions. They don't have that information according to that FOI. Right? They don't have it. I'm so sick of the Wirral Council. And the local elections that just happened up down the country proves that right now Labour needs to be turfed out and has finally been seen for what it is. The Wirral Peninsula has been literally held captive by Labour for decades, all my life, and I've always seen is it degrade. Isn't it funny? We have this video. Where is it? Where is it? Let's just get this up. Being organised. Organised. How organised was What's It Street? How organised was the planning and forward thinking for the Mallory and Irvine buildings, costing us what, 75 million on the 35-year lease? The buildings only costing around 12.5 million. How about the fact you've left, you want to decarbonise all the buildings around the Wirral, and you leave all the town halls empty and consolidate them into one of the Mallory and Irvine buildings to save face, and then they're all left there to rot, and the heritage and institutions of what they are. Or the fact is we released funds for the Wallasey Town Hall and only 2 office buildings got knocked down and nothing's happened in 2 years, when that's actually supposed to be a development site now for new builds and homes, but nothing's happened. But yeah, we're extending HMOs now. We're opening up more HMOs. We've got an Afghan relocation program coming into the Wirral, and you go around trying to reduce the cars. Well, I'm sorry, but we know this, but from large swathes of migrants and refugees and whoever they are that are coming to the areas, all have cars, weirdly enough. New cars, and there's evidence now through the mobility scheme given through disability allowance and PIP allowance, etc., which you can claim for. A lot of them are given to migrant families who are on those benefits. That increases the so-called carbon footprint, the CO2 that you are trying to decrease. We've got a freaking country led by idiots, the government, the Labour, Conservatives and Greens, all of them are involved in that ideology, who are all behind mass immigration into the country. When you add 5 million people into the country, they are all a carbon footprint, and by your logic you're polluting our country. And when you've got the Europe going about through CO2 production of fucking cows farting and breathing, are you mental? Normal CO2 is needed. The planet's more greener than it has been in decades because of CO2 production, because plants need CO2 for us to breathe oxygen. And you want to go out reducing carbon, and here we say preparing for change. What you were doing preparing the Wirral for tearing up the entire green belt of the Wirral Peninsula for a CO2 pipeline to become the dumping grounds for Europe to reduce their carbon footprint. That's what we heard in the Floral Pavilion presentation. That's what we got them to admit at least 3 times, by literally importing the dirty compressed CO2 gas from Europe to dump, out the coast of fucking, sorry swear, Hoylake, to help Europe reduce the CO2. No, I'm sick of that. I'm sick of the days of the Kyoto Agreements of us helping out France by apparently selling them imaginary bottled air in 1996 and onwards, right? I'm sick of the scam that it is. It's erroneous. When you look at, if you go and find the actual climate thing here, the whole palaver it is, when you look into this, read this, go and read this, guys, and then tell me that's worth our money when our country's starved. You've seen what happened. You've seen what happened in Great Yarmouth, where we won 10 for 10 of positions there. All 9 seats were taken by us, okay? And overwhelmingly so. You've seen what reform have done up and down the country. Whether you like them or not, it doesn't matter. Labour needs to be turfed out, right? The Conservatives are destroyed. The Greens are just more of the same on steroids, which no one quite understands. That's a whole different kettle of fish, and you might have seen my video on that. But again, Restore Britain is here on the Wirral. If you're not a Restore member, please go and join up to Restore Britain. It's much needed. If you're not a member, please come join us. Right? It's very easy to do. £20 a year, and if you want to volunteer, if you want to run for local council and MP, we want normal people. We want people who actually care, who are from the Wirral as well. We don't want people from Liverpool, no offence, or outside the Wirral. People representing people who are from the Wirral, the natives of the Wirral. Yeah, we want people to represent us, who care about us, right? And to step up. This is time. Come and join Restore Britain. If you're not a volunteer, if you've become a member, sign up through the volunteer portal, and you'll be sent my way to the Wirral branch. We are ready now with what just happened this local elections. We're going to take the Wirral, and when we have taken the Wirral next May, and we're all looking at the 3 MPs, which are Labour MPs, things are drastically going to change, and they're going to somewhat, Wonder what the hell they're going to do as MPs, because they will no longer represent us in any shape or form. And currently, I'm sorry, all three Labour MPs do not represent us collectively as a majority on the Wirral. I can quite proudly say that from the left and the right. Anyway, bit of a rant. It gets my back up being told things are not what they seem when they blatantly are. When you're not getting any answers. I've got no answers at Wanter Street. I've got no costs about it. Apparently, the Wirral Council does not keep records of what anything costs. Anyway, food for thought. I'll catch you soon.